Hey there, baseball fans. Nathan Rohde, Shooter Hunt, and Toby Bicknell here with the latest episode of Coffee and Curveballs. We got Toby on this week to talk some Texas stuff. He saw some Juco action, and the high school season is getting ready to get started. So, Toby, we appreciate you joining us again.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Excited to be here.
Excellent. Like I said, high school stuff is starting to gear up. You got scrimmages going on pretty soon. The tournament season for Texas will get going here. You started up your season with junior college stuff, and this past weekend it sounds like you saw San Jacinto.
I did. I got a chance to go down and cover the Tournament of Champions down in Houston at San Jack, and got a chance to see some really high-level arms, some quality junior college baseball from the state of Texas. We had teams from all over the state that came into Houston to compete in that tournament, and it was a really good event.
Excellent.
Now, Bick, when I'm usually looking at the Gators down there at San Jack, I'm seeing lots of Texas guys flow through. But I was following you along throughout the weekend, and there were some guys from out of state that were really shining and standing out for the Gators.
Yeah, and most notably was the first guy that threw in Game 1, and that was Jackson Rutledge from Rockwood Summit, Missouri. So it was not an easy weekend weather-wise. I tip of the hat to the players and the coaches for braving the elements. But Jackson Rutledge, he came out for Game 1, 6'8", 250 pounds. First pitch out of his hand was 97. It's a short stride down the mound, short arm circle, but the ball explodes out of his hand. He was it's at mostly 94 to 96. Really, really sharp 12-6 breaking ball. And it's got deep bend, and it's one of those just, sit down, take a seat, 79 to 82, had a number of punch outs on it. But he had a really good day. There was a lot of heat in there to see him, whether it was, I think we had a couple of GMs, multiple guys from multiple teams, some decision makers were in the house to see him in that setting, and he made the most of a big moment.
Yeah, early on, I mean, that's the first weekend where a lot of the scouts can get out, and the college season hasn't started, the high school season hasn't started, so all eyes are on Juco. And when you get a 6'8", 250-pound right-hander blowing it up to 97 and ripping off some hammers, yeah, some heat's going to come in to watch him.
They did. They were in the house. It was a really good outing for him.
Yeah, obviously Rutledge is a big dude, but speaking of big dudes, you also saw left-hander Luke Little, who's like 6'8" himself. How did he look?
So Luke came in relief in their second game, the first game yesterday on Saturday, and working from a lower slot, kind of a three-quarter to low three-quarter guy. Ball has a lot of movement. His first inning, he was like 90-92. The ball was kind of dancing all over the place, and his slider was really good. He threw it from 75 to 78, and it's got really good lateral darting action. It's not an easy pitch to catch. He came back out in his second inning, a little bit sharper, and you're looking at him and you're saying, okay, this is South Carolina commit. He's going into the SEC, and there's a lot of things to like about him just from the standpoint of it's not an easy look for a hitter, whether you're right-handed or left-handed, with the amount of break that he's got on that slider and the velocity coming from a little bit different arm swing. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And then another left-hander has got some size himself, not quite 6'8", but Mitchell Parker. We saw him in high school out of New Mexico. He was in the top 100 at one point from a draft perspective. From what I remember, it comes out of his hand pretty well, and he's got a pretty good breaking ball too. How did he look on the weekend?
Rody, me and you were talking about this before the show, but it's a really long arm swing with a little bit of reach at the bottom, but he gets back up top, and that fastball comes out clean. 87 to 90 in the first, eventually settled in 86, 88, still touching an 89 in the third and fourth inning, but he gets back on top of the curveball, and he can spin it. It's got 1-7 shape. It's deeper break at 71 to 75. And then he'll occasionally go to the slider, which you're looking at, and you're going, man, that's really late, short snap. And that pitch would be anywhere from 78 to 81. So he's got three pitches that he can really get hitters out with from a left-hander with some projection, as well as flash and tilt on the fastball. Anytime a left-hander's coming down and into a right-handed hitter with the fastball with some tilt, that's got a chance to get either swings and misses or a lot of ground balls.
Wow. Yeah, it certainly does. Obviously, sounds like San Jack is pretty loaded with some pitching. Any other arms you saw on the weekend?
Yeah, there were a number of guys that threw that had really good outings. Chandler Arnold is a freshman coming out of Odessa Junior College, and he came in relief and just, passing the eye test of being 6'3", 170 pounds with a high waist. long, loose arm swing. He threw one Snapdragon slider, curveball, whatever you want to call it, but it had late break, and it was 75 miles an hour for a punch out. I got video of that one. But it's easy to dream that he's just 88 to 90 right now as a freshman, that he's gonna continue to get better with the athleticism and the long arm swing and the long stride down the mound. So he was kind of one of those guys that, if you stuck around and you watch the whole game, you're saying, hey, this guy's going to be really good.
Mm-hmm. That's the best part about going to those Juco games. You never know what's going to roll out of that bullpen, and you catch a guy late in the game, it's rainy, tough weather, you feel real good going home that you stayed for all 9 innings.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he was it was pretty easy to circle his name and say this is going to be a really nice follow.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about some high school stuff and shift some gears here. The season is approaching. State of Texas, it's one of those states where we talk about, the 2019 class being down overall. Texas is a state where I think it's still strong. It's one of the states that's not down when you look at the class. And again, as always, when it comes to Texas, we're talking about pitching. Who are some of the teams, the high school teams that we need to watch in Texas that are loaded with talent, probably and hopefully marching toward a state title?
Well, I think you got to talk about Cy Ranch with the two guys they have at the top of their rotation with Matt Thompson and J.J. Goss. Those guys threw a ton of innings last year. They returned. They're both seniors. Both already committed to go to college, but both have a chance to pitch in the low to mid 90s. Those guys are going to be a lot of fun to watch. But you've also got, Lake Travis has got Jimmy Lewis, the big right-hander coming out of there. You've got some really other strong high school teams, and I'm sure, Shooter, you've got some guys that you've highlighted to see in the early season as well.
Yeah, I'm coming down. I'm going to hit a lot of those Austin tournaments and Round Rock and then get over to Houston, hoping to see a lot of the top 20 draft talent. But some of those, the Woodland's going to be real good. You can't not talk about Argyle with what they've done the last couple years. They just don't seem to lose, and they just keep beating good teams.
They do, and they've got a really nice early season schedule with some high-end scrimmages, and then they've also got some early season matchups in the tournament season. They're going to be good. That lineup at Argyle is stacked. They bring everybody back except for their first base DH right-hander that was their number one last year. And that lineup can score runs in a number of different ways, whether you're talking about Brendan Dixon, Dylan Carter, you're talking about the Gonzalez kid that's committed to Baylor, Merca's committed to A&M. You've got guys all over the field. They can handle the bat. They can hit for power, but they can also go first to third. They can bunt when they need to, and they've got enough juice in the lineup where there's really no holes 1 through 9.
And you're talking about lineup there 1 through 9. Those are some blue collar kids who just get after it on the ball field. Good ball players. But if you're looking at a lineup, Rhodey, how can we not talk about Colleyville Heritage with Bobby Witt Jr. leading the way?
That's not a team that I would want to face.
No, and they've got, not just Bobby Witt, but they've got Mason Greer. They've got the Balsano kid behind the plate that's a really high-end catcher. Chandler Freeman, who transferred in last year from Liberty Hill, is a third base right-handed pitcher closer. And then Logan Britt is also there now this year. So they've got even more thunder on the field for Colleyville Heritage.
And then in 6A, Southlake Carroll, which is a national brand. You say Southlake Carroll, you're thinking football, you're thinking basketball, you're thinking baseball. Whatever they throw out on the field, they're going to be good at. And coming off a state championship, they look pretty good with that lineup.
They do, and they return two very big staples in the middle of the field for them. And one is Jorge Figueroa, who committed to Wichita State shortly after the PBR All-State games, and he can really pick it at shortstop. And then they've got Jan Luis Ortiz, who also caught a little bit last year, is kind of projected to catch DH, play first, play third, do a little bit of everything. He's a Miami commit with serious juice in the bat. And it's Southlake Carroll, that part of the DFW Metroplex. In that area, there's a ton of talent, a ton of young guys. I'm sure there's guys that I don't even know about yet that are probably going to be throwing significant innings for them and competing on the field.
Well, if you don't know about them yet, you're going to find out about them this spring. I'm pumped up to follow it along. I'll be down for 10 days crushing the Lone Star State. I'm really jacked up for it.
Can't wait to get you here, Shooter.
Excellent. And I'll be down there myself March 7th to 9th for that third weekend of tournaments, so we'll certainly have the Texas stuff covered from end to end. So, Toby, we appreciate you joining us today.
Guys, thanks for having me on. Have a great week.
Excellent.
Thanks, Vic.
Be sure to tune into PrepBaseballReport.com for more coverage, especially during the spring season as we march toward the draft in June. But, as always, for Shooter Hunt and Toby Bicknell, I'm Nathan Rohde. This was Coffee and Curveballs, and until next time, we'll see you guys at the ballpark.